Brother Sean here, and the conclusion of the video series D.S.S. No, not the Department of Social Security, but the Divine Sexuality and Spirituality. I hope you've enjoyed listening to some of my heart responses. I pray with all my heart, and I am not being disingenuous here, I'm being sincere. I pray that what I've shared with you has not fallen on deaf ears, but again, I'm only one who's in service to love. But what I have shared with you has been rooted in practical spirituality, where I've tried to walk the talk, not talk the walk. As I've said, I'm not an academic. I'm a simple, hands-on lay Franciscan who embraces all faiths, instructed by Francis back in 2008. And yes, there's been a price. But the price for me has allowed me revisit what is important in my life. And it's not about labels or status. It's more about, is my heart open to love? I remember, in conclusion, as a young student nurse, we were doing various courses and seminars and whatever on various practices in the sexual field. And one of our student nurses, she was a beautiful Asian girl who talked a lot about the Kama Sutra. Well, at the time, I was one of 4 young monks in training as a nurse in Manchester. So we had a practical demonstration, and she read out this particular position, and I haven't got a clue what it was, but it was hilarious because when I picked up the habit and got into the lotus position, my legs got trapped and I couldn't undo them because I wasn't used to it, and I fell over and banged my head. Maybe that was a warning. Maybe that was an indication to either abandon such practices or to become a fitter, slimmer, lean machine. On a more serious note, I have been so privileged to have been given so many chances by God to revisit that loving relationship, a relationship that is divine, a relationship that embraces the totality of who I am as a human being, with all its foibles, with all my silliness and idiosyncrasies. It's taken many years to accept who I am, but I am who I am because I am made in the image and likeness of a supreme Father, Mother, God, who showed love for me, who never ever let me go. And the times in my life when I hit rock bottom, and trust me, I have hit rock bottom many times. The biggest fall that I ever had, 16 years ago, when my dear friend died, and I was introduced to mental illness and became a patient rather than the qualified person. So the role reversal was quite challenging for me. But I've learned so much about myself. I've realized I am really vulnerable. But in my vulnerability, I offer myself, regardless of what you or others might think of me, in my availability to become a peacemaker. But also, more importantly, not to condemn or judge anyone, regardless of who they are. It is my belief that today, in this wonderful year of 2012, we are experiencing a major shift of consciousness, which is not only affecting mankind, but the universe. Nature is ascending. Climatic changes are really hitting home to everybody. We are now having to take responsibility for our actions in our relationship with God, with Gaia, with nature, with the community we live in. We've got to stop being woolly-minded and become more proactive. We've got to take a lead role. We've to stand up for our principles. But divine sexuality and spirituality, for me, is a prayer. They are not separable. They're interwoven. And in the center is the blue mystical heart of a loving God. Many people who view sex as dirty and distasteful, that is unhealthy. But when I talk about sexuality, I'm not talking about indulging in lust. I'm talking about embracing spiritual love. You may have heard the words hieroskamos, mystical marriage. I believe that as a child of God, there is within our soul's DNA the very fabric, the essence, that we are part of the hieroskamos, that we are mystically connected with the Supreme as a child of God, that we are part of the sacred marriage, because our hearts belong to God. Okay, those who are married, may share their heart with their beloved, whether it's same sex, opposite sex, that I'm not getting embroiled in, because I believe where two people love one another, God is present. The divine is present. And that is a prayer. And because it's a prayer, it is an act of love. But the hieroskamos is an invitation for you to allow your heart become part of the mystical heart, to become part of the mystical marriage with God. Not to run off and become a nun or a monk like me, but to allow the divine oneness seep into your conscious mind and to speak to you, especially in those moments where there is no clarity, where you're confused. You may discover later on in life things that you weren't aware of, where you've become unwell due to suppressing sexual feelings. It may be for same sex, opposite sex. It doesn't matter. We must honor those feelings. We must bless them and let them become a prayer rather than allowing them to destroy us. You may have watched the wonderful film, The Da Vinci Code, or read the book. I know I have. But you know, there's some truth in that. Because I remember 6 years ago, 7 maybe now, when I was guided on a retreat to Egypt, to the Red Sea, where Magdalena and Jesus guided me to write a book, Let Your Light Shine, for 2012. They're not my words. It is a beautiful book. It's their words. We are the hieroskamos. We are the Holy Grail. We don't need to go searching around the world to find the bloodline or the cup. We are the cup. Because the moment you open your heart to divine love and surrender your heart, warts and all your baggage, and you're willing to trust, and that's the key, to trust and come out of denial, come out of self-loathing and despair, and throw yourself into the wildness of your heart, in the mystical heart of God, you become one. And in that divine oneness, you are the prayer. Be still and just now feel the love of God, and allow Him into your space. Allow Him caress you. Allow Him bless you. Allow Him touch you. and affirm you that you are a new creation, regardless of what society has to say to you, regardless of what religion has implanted in your mind, maybe as a fear-based mindset. Surrender to love. God is love. And where there is love, there is light. Where there is light, there is love. You are love. Thank you for your patience. May God bless you and keep you safe. You are a child of God.